All right, guys. Hello, and welcome into the 60 feet 6 inches LSU pod. Thank y'all for joining me. In this episode, we'll be previewing the upcoming weekend series for the LSU baseball team as they travel to Tuscaloosa to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. What are the keys to the weekend for the LSU Tigers? Also, who will make the Get Right, Stay Right list? And then finally, my series prediction.
Now Warren Morris hits a deep drive down the right field line. That ball is gone! LSU wins the College World Series on a home run by Morris.
Thank you for tuning in. If you are listening in on audio for the first time, the 60 feet 6 inches LSU pod is available on Google, Apple, Spotify, and other audio platforms. If you are viewing this on the 60 feet 6 inches LSU YouTube channel, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, comment, and hit that notifications bell as well. On Twitter, you can follow me at 60FT6IN LSU pod. Make sure to follow, retweet, like, comment, set your notifications as well so you can interact with me during the games. And as always, thank you to everybody for all the likes, the retweets, and the support. It is greatly appreciated. Before we get started, I'm going to give a quick shout out to some of my very dear friends who've been listening to this and they've been enjoying the content, but I just want to thank them for their support. So first, my man Steve and Jenny up in D.C. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Thank you for the support. Ty and Rick, my boys from Dallas. We're all separated now, but huge college baseball fans. Thank y'all. My man Ray Wright. We connected a while back, and we pulled for two of the same teams. A little bit of soccer as well there, right? Come on, you Spurs. And then, as always, everybody else, who interacts with me as well. So thank you for the support. And last, I'm going to retweet some stuff, but if you're in Baton Rouge on Saturday at 9 a.m., one of my dear friends and former LSU baseball player, Cedric Harris, and his wife, Marie Ferdinand, now Marie Harris, she was a star for the LSU basketball team. They lost their son tragically last year to an ATV accident. They are doing a fundraiser. It's called the Be Like CJ Foundation. They have done amazing things with that foundation. Their strength and their purpose just amazes me. You can always interact with those guys on Twitter and Instagram. Cedric's always doing things in the community. They will be in Baton Rouge Saturday, 9 a.m. at the Old Front 9 for some type of team challenge race or activity. So I know me and my family are going to go out there and check it out to show support for Ced and Marie. And one of my dear friends, and everybody loves Ced at LSU. And him and Marie have been great through this whole ordeal. And they have turned a tragedy into something special. So the Be Like CJ Foundation, Saturday morning, 9 o'clock in Baton Rouge. He didn't ask me for that, but it's my podcast, and I'm going to put it out there. So hope to see everybody out there. All right, I'm excited about this pod. Got some good things for y'all going. Some bold steps. Look, we're not here to make easy predictions. And I'll get to that later. We're just not here. Y'all don't come over here to say, oh, LSU's going to win the series 2-3. I'll check y'all next time. Cruz and Barry going to hit a bomb. We're here to go out on limbs. So let's go. LSU, Alabama. Can't stand Alabama. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I did see the times. It looks like Friday is going to be 6 o'clock. Saturday's a little bit of a later start. Actually, another night game. I believe 7:30. Don't quote me on that. And then Sunday, I believe, is a 1 o'clock first pitch. So LSU comes in at 30-14 and 12-9 in SEC play with a victory over Nicholls 10-6 on Tuesday, and they sit in a three-way tie for second place in the SEC West along with Auburn and A&M. Side note, Auburn is playing Arkansas this weekend. Let those two guys battle it out. Alabama comes in at 25-20 on the year, 9-12 in SEC play. They did not play a midweek game this week. And as y'all know, LSU's coming off a big series, taking 2 or 3 from Georgia at home. That was huge. While Bama got swept on the road at South Carolina last week. And Bama has only won 2 SEC series this year, taking 2 of 3 from the Aggies and sweeping Ole Miss, which kind of came out of nowhere. So Alabama's been up and down, but they're really scuffling as of late. LSU's RPI currently stands at 14 with a strength of schedule of 16. Teams to watch out for now that are ahead of LSU. A&M has an RPI of 13. Auburn has an RPI of 4. And Georgia is third, which is a good thing for LSU because Georgia plays Vandy. Then they play Tennessee. So the more Georgia can win, the fact that LSU took 2 out of 3 from them can only be good for LSU and their RPI. Series notes. LSU leads the overall series with Alabama 17 wins, 3 losses, 1 tie. I guess there was a rainout in there somewhere. Over the last 21 series. So complete and utter domination over the Tide in baseball the last 21 years. And LSU has won the last 4 series. LSU has won 3 of the last 4 series, and Alabama has dropped 7 of their last 8 SEC games and spent 3 of the last 4 weekends on the road. So I'm sure they are glad to be at home. And oddly enough, I think their stadium's called Thomas Sewell Stadium, but they refer to it as the Joe. Leave it to the Bammers to come up with some random nickname. So, but they look to snap a 3-conference game or series losing streak. So not looking too hot for the Tide with LSU rolling into town. So team stats, and as a reminder, we're focused on Strickland and SEC stats from here on out. LSU is hitting 6th in the conference, SEC games only now, hitting .266, and Bama is 10th in the conference with a .253 batting average. LSU's 3rd in the conference with 40 home runs in SEC games. They're only behind State and Tennessee. Bama is 2nd to last, having only hit 23 home runs in conference play. Strikeouts. LSU's hitters are striking out the least in conference play, which is pretty impressive. They're actually tied with Florida. So that stat continues to surprise me and just shows you how well LSU's doing with regards to putting the ball in play and getting on base. Jacob Berry's 2nd in SEC play when it comes to hitting. He is hitting .395. He's 2nd in on-base percentage at a .485 clip. Bama does have one. We'll get into this later, but the one guy that stands out is Andrew Pinckney. He is top 15 in both of those categories, just like Berry. So top 15 in hitting, and then top 15 in on-base percentage. Berry is 3rd, as there is a tie at the top for hits in SEC play. So he's one off that pace. He has 32 hits in SEC play. Dylan Cruz has 8 home runs in conference action with 20 RBIs, and that is good for top 10 in the league in both categories there. Pitching. LSU comes in with a team ERA of 4.16. So this is SEC games only, which is good for 3rd in the conference. And Bama has a 5.63 ERA, which is good for 7th. Okay, a little early, but I got some good ones for y'all. Gold-plated money stat time. And that sounds terrible, but maybe it's so terrible it's good, right? Gold-plated money stats. Here we go. I got several. Alabama's pitching staff has given up the most home runs in SEC play so far this season at 42. Fabulous news if you're an LSU fan. And by the way, their ballpark is an absolute bandbox. I mean, they did redo the stadium, but my teammates and I did get our butt whooped 28-2 in that same stadium area. And I don't really think they increased the dimensions at all. Side note, we did beat them the next day and won the SEC, but that's neither here nor there. So it's a bandbox over there. Besides giving up the most home runs in SEC play, Bama's pitchers in SEC play, they are the worst in the conference at allowing opposing right-handed hitters to get base hits. Opposing right-handed hitters hit .333 against the Alabama pitching staff. With runners on base, they are 2nd to last in conference play. The Tide's pitchers allow opposing teams to hit .300. With 2 outs, it gets even worse. They'll allow a .318 average for opposing hitters. And they give up a league-leading 2.04 homers per game. So we'll call it 2. Folks, look, we can't sugarcoat this. You got 3 more SEC series left. I mean, you are who you are at this point. And those stats aren't great. The gold-plated money stats are telling you that Alabama's pitchers aren't good. And in the SEC play, they give up the most home runs per game. The most hits to righties. The most hits with 2 outs. And the second worst team when it comes to runners on base. If you're LSU's hitters, those guys are going to be frothing at the mouth after they take BP tonight. I'm filming this Thursday. They're taking BP right now going, holy hell, this place is a launching pad. So, more on that later. It was cool, I thought, though. I heard Jay Johnson say that after the Nichols game, LSU bust up. God forbid they use a bus now instead of the charter. But they bust up on Wednesday, and they just chilled Wednesday night. And Thursday just hung out in Tuscaloosa. In case y'all don't know, on Thursday night, they always get into practice at the visiting team's facility. So If they fly in, they'll fly in early morning, get to the hotel, change. Then they'll have like a regular practice at Alabama's facility just so they can get a feel for it, right? Take ground balls off of it, see what it's like to play underneath the lights. They take BP, all that fun stuff. I'm not sure if y'all know that, just a little inside information, though. All right, a couple of individual Alabama hitters. 3 to 4 guys you need to be aware of and be careful if you're LSU's pitchers for this weekend. And it starts right now. It starts and ends, really, with Andrew Pinckney. He is their best hitter. He's hitting .342 in conference. He's got 4 home runs in conference play with 6 doubles, and he's slugging .605. He's going to hit in that 4 or 5 hole. He's also their center fielder. Drew Williamson, he's hitting .316 in SEC play with 4 home runs as well. He does lead the team with 19 RBIs in conference play, and he's slugging .532. And then it gets a little shaky. There's a pretty big steep drop-off, but there's still some guys that can hurt you. And this is what I mean. Zane Denton. So to me, this guy's all or nothing. Listen to his stats. In conference, he's got 5 bombs in conference play, but he's only hitting .217. He has 3 walks and 32 Ks. Yep, 3 walks and 32 Ks. So bottom line, he's up there to swing, and he's going to get his hacks in. He's either going to put the ball in play or he's striking out. He's one way or the other, right? I'm coming back to this dugout one way or another. You're going to touch my hand at home plate or I'm punching out. But if you look at his overall stats, too, it's very similar. He's got 11 home runs on the year and 12 doubles, so he's slugging .508. So while Denton doesn't hit for a great average, he hits home runs and he hits doubles, and then he punches out. So somebody to be on the lookout for if you're LSU. And lastly is Tommy Seidel. On the year, he's hitting .306, and he has 11 out of 12. He's been successful 11 out of 12 times on stolen base attempts, and he's really their only runner. They're like LSU. They don't steal any bags. He's got 4 stolen bases in conference play. But listen to this. He's hitting .306 on the year, but in SEC play, he's only hitting a .183. So he's below the Mendoza line. And he's got 25 Ks as well. So I don't know what went on with him. If he feasted early in the year, non-conference, and he's feasting midweek. But once conference play came around, Tommy Seidel has really struggled. But you may want to look for him to run. He seems to be their stolen base guy. In terms of Alabama starting pitching, they have 3 guys. They've already released their rotation. Friday, it is junior right-handed pitcher Garrett McMillan. He is 2 wins and 3 losses in SEC play on the year. 4.57 ERA. He's thrown 41 and a third innings pitched, given up 41 hits, 43 Ks, and a .253 batting average against. So not a bad stat line. It looks like he averages about 6 and a third innings pitched per outing. And that's what I noticed about their starters. They all go 5 to 6, it looks like. And they really only have 3 or 4 guys out the pen that have halfway decent stats. Not great, but they kind of rely on those guys, and they expect their starters to get them through minimum 5, it seems like. Saturday, LSU will face senior right-handed pitcher Jacob Mcnairy. He is 1-2 in SEC play. He has a 5.94 ERA, 33 and a third innings pitched, 42 hits, which is not great. He does only have 7 walks and 31 strikeouts, and he does have a .311 batting average against. So hitters are seeing McNairy stuff pretty well. And on Sunday, of course, they throw the lefty, sophomore left-handed pitcher Grayson Hill. 3-2 throughout conference play, 5.73 ERA, 33 innings pitched, 33 hits, 33 Ks. I mean, that's a lot of threes right there. And a .266 batting average against. So as I stated, it looked like, McMillan's going to go 6. These other guys average about 5 innings. And then out the pen, they do have a true closer now. Their closer's Dylan Ray. He has 3 saves in SEC play. He's a right-handed pitcher. 14 2/3 innings pitched in conference play with 20 strikeouts. So that's pretty good stuff against some pretty good hitters. Anytime you have more than 1 strikeout per innings pitched and you're the closer, high leverage situations, that means you have some pretty good stuff. Their main relievers coming out the bullpen are 2 left-handed pitchers in Jack Leger with 7 appearances and Brock Guffey with 9 appearances. But they each have mid-5, and even Guffey has like a 7.36 ERA in conference. So they just haven't thrown the ball well in conference. And everything about Alabama when you look at their stats. Look, bottom line, everything screams middle of the road. They're ranked between 7th and 11th in pretty much every conference category. So, I mean, their record's 9-12 for a reason. But maybe a little cause for concern because they've been sitting at home all week, having time to think about that sweep they just took at South Carolina. So, moving on to the get right, stay right list. Now listen, I've told y'all every week I try to dig a little bit deeper, right? Maybe for get right I could still be putting Thompson on there or stay right, Cruz and Barry, but that's no fun. Of course Cruz and Barry have to stay right. That's a given. So for get right, Saturday's pitcher. I don't know who it's going to be. At the time of this recording, to my knowledge, it has not been released yet. I think things are lining up for the Tigers to have a special weekend, and they need whoever is the starter and or the first reliever out of the bullpen to have a very good Saturday outing. Let's just put it at that. Last weekend, Money, I think he went 2 innings, gave up a 2-run bomb in the first, and then the bullpen scuffled. Remember, Georgia won the Saturday game 12-7, and they handed it to the bullpen with a lot of solo home runs. But I feel very confident about Hilliard in the Friday game. Why wouldn't any LSU fan feel confident with that? It's almost like he's going to have to prove us wrong, or another team's going to have to do something to where I move off the fact that I just expect Mikhail Hilliard to lose on Friday. It hadn't happened in years. I'm just going to keep putting money on him to continue to throw good in the first SEC game of the weekend. So first on the get right list, Saturday pitcher. Whoever it is, we need to have a good, clean start to that game. The other get right may surprise you, Eric Razelman. Now, per the norm, we're going to expect to see him 2 to 3 times this weekend. And he's been up and down lately. In his last couple outings against Georgia, he really didn't look comfortable with his release point on his fastball. He's still throwing hard. He's still 94 to 97, and he's only going to throw a fastball. But he just didn't look comfortable, and he ended up getting pulled early in one outing against Georgia. And then he gave up 2 home runs in the Saturday game as well. So here's his stat line for the last 4 outings. Last 4 outings, Razelman, 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 5 runs, 5 earned, 2 walks, 9 Ks. Now, by my calculations, I'm not a math major, but his ERA is a 9. So that's not great. And maybe it's the point in the season where guys are starting to get tired. It's starting to get hot, starting to get humid. He's not from here. Maybe other guys are starting to experience it too. If they haven't pitched a lot in a couple years, this is the longest they've thrown in a while. And they're coming into high leverage pressure situations. And look, it's a lot different when you're called on out of the pen at LSU as opposed to, I just thought of these guys because we just paid them Nickel State. And you're playing ULM and there's 500 people in the stands as opposed to, 7,000 at the box on a Friday night, and Razelman's got to come in and strike somebody out with men on second and third. One thing that some of y'all may not realize is getting up and down in the pen, it does have the ability to wear you out. And then getting loose in the 5th, and you go into the game during the 7th, and then maybe you walk a guy, and that's all it takes, and you get pulled, and then that takes a mental toll on you because you're kind of questioning yourself. And I'm not saying he's doing this. I'm just letting you know from a bullpen perspective is that it's a big learning curve to get up and down constantly, and it just takes a while for you to figure out your system. How many pitches does it take for me to get loose? How long does it take for me to get loose? If I'm loose in the bullpen and I don't have a feel for anything, can I still go out there and perform, knowing I have 8 warm-up pitches out there on the game mound? Say you get hot in the 5th and you're up again in the 6th. How much do I really need to throw to get ready to go into the game? And it's the 8th and you're still getting up and getting down. So all that kind of factors into it. And maybe he's just going through a little bit of that right now. Pure speculation. And it's just kind of, with him coming off of injury a while back, you just have to learn your body and learn your arm. And if you're new to the bullpen, some of that stuff is just growing pains. But I think he's going to get right think he's going to bounce back this weekend. So Saturday's pitchers, specifically the starter and the first reliever, and Eric Razelman, get right. Stay right. My boy Pearson. I mean, this freshman is on absolute fire. He blasted 2 home runs on Tuesday night versus Nichols. He looks comfortable starting in the SEC. The moment doesn't seem too big for him. He seems very confident and relaxed at the plate. He's come through in some big situations already. Get this, his last 7 games, he is 11 for 27 with a .407 batting average and 3 home runs. And that even includes a game where he didn't start. He didn't start the Sunday game against Georgia because they had a lefty on the mound. Coach, I don't care if the dude throws, if he's amphibious and he throws with both arms. Pearson's in the lineup, Coach. Now, he's going to lead off against righties and against lefties. If you want to drop him down, that's fine. But, I mean, I've seen some discussions on Twitter. You just got to keep him in the lineup at this point. Does not look like a freshman. And maybe he has another lull at some point. But he's delivered so far. 11 for 27, 407 in his last 7 games, 3 home runs. I mean, can he continue to stay hot and be a great leadoff hitter at the top of this powerful lineup? And I'm predicting he's going to get 2 more home runs this weekend. So put it on the books. The Mooey is calling Pearson hitting 2 more home runs this weekend at Alabama. If I'm right, I will remind you of that. Trust me. If not, we're just going to push that to the side. The other person on the stay right list is Dutton. Old Samuel Dutton. So we got a pair of freshmen on the list, the hitter and a pitcher. Look, he's coming off his best performance of the year last Sunday, going 4 2/3 against a tough Georgia lineup. And Georgia just blasted LSU's pitchers for 12 runs, 17 hits, and 6 home runs the day before he toes the rubber. So with a little bit of uncertainty right now in the game 2 spot, I think Dutton remains a very important piece for the LSU pitching staff. And I think it's important for him to continue to get off to quick starts. You know, let's just assume Hilliard wins on Friday. We don't know what's going to happen on Sunday. Win or lose, Dutton's in the money spot, right? You win, you got a chance at a sweep. You lose, you look to Dutton to salvage a series. So either way, a lot falls on the young freshman's shoulders, you know. And there's good and bad to it. I think if Coach Jay Johnson is looking at a potential sweep this weekend after taking Friday and Saturday, and he showed it before, he is going to have an ultra-quick hook with Dutton. He's going to do anything he can. He'll throw 10 pitchers if he has to, as long as he gets that game 3. And that's not great for the freshman, obviously. You like to see him continue on his hot streak, continue with his consistency. But I just think it's the nature of the beast right now. And anytime you can potentially get a sweep and on the road, I mean, I think everybody listening to or watching this pod is going to take it. But Dutton, I think he's going to stay right this weekend. I think he's going to follow up the Georgia performance with another strong performance. So, get right. Saturday pitchers, Razelman, stay right. Pearson and Dutton, the 2 freshmen, making the stay right list here on the 60 feet, 6 inches LSU pod. All right, starting to wrap this thing up. What are my 3 keys to the weekend? And they're all very similar. They all kind of build off each other. 1, LSU needs to maintain consistency as a team and handle the pressure and the expectations that are starting to get heaped on them. So can LSU continue to play good, consistent baseball? They've picked it up on the defensive side. They continue to pitch it well, and we all know they have a very good batting order. But now, the end of the year, pressure ramps up. Expectations are beginning to form with a very good shot at hosting a regional. More and more of that talk is going on in Baton Rouge Sports Radio, and with some of these national baseball writers penciling LSU in as a regional host. So how does this young team respond on the road with a very winnable series against a very average Alabama team? So, first key, maintain consistency as a team. Make sure you can handle the pressure and the expectations. But 2, my second key, can LSU find a way to string hits together consistently this weekend? And I heard some other people who I respect and listen to, and they thought LSU had a great hitting weekend last weekend, and I really didn't. I thought they hit a lot of home runs. Remember, they scored 17 runs last weekend, and 16 of their runs were scored by way of home run. Listen, if I'm a pitching coach for an opposing team and my pitchers give up 9 hits to LSU, but we win the game 4-2, and they give up a hit an inning and maybe 2 solo home runs, I don't care. So just because you got 9 hits, that doesn't mean anything. It's when you get those hits, at what point in the game, And do you string them together? I mean, that is my personal opinion. If people believe otherwise, that's their right. But LSU needs to find a way to string hits together consistently. And I talked about in the Georgia Review pod, and I would love to see them do that against a very average Alabama pitching staff. And they do very poorly with runners on base. So can LSU find the recipe this weekend to stack good at bat, up to good at bat, up to good at bat, and produce multiple runs and multiple innings throughout the weekend? So let's say, for example, Friday night LSU scores 8 runs, but only 2 of those runs come from a home run. Man, that is a recipe for success right there. LSU wins the game 8-3. Cruz hits a 2-run home run, but they score 6 runs in other innings by stringing together singles and doubles and walks. Maybe there's an error mixed in there, and they find ways to extend innings. That's huge for this team moving forward. And I'm going to continue to harp on that because I think that's a recipe for success. The third key to the weekend, LSU needs to play with a sense of urgency. Everything is sitting there right there in front of them. I mean, they truly control their own destiny. So I know it's very similar to my first key for the weekend, but I feel like it goes hand in hand with number 1 and number 2. It just kind of builds off of it. Look, Alabama didn't play a midweek game. They've had all week to sit around and let that sweep at South Carolina simmer, let it sink in. And I think Bama is battling for an SEC tournament spot, and I think they're also battling for a regional spot at this point in the season. So Alabama cannot afford to have a bad series. Therefore, can LSU and this young team really respond and play with a true sense of urgency from the jump on Friday night? And can they show up and match what I assume is going to be an energetic team in that other dugout? Can they match Alabama's energy? I have no idea what the environment in that stadium is going to be like. But when I say sense of urgency, I'm talking about from the first pitch on Friday night. Can they bring it and just keep it going the whole weekend? Can they continue to get 2-out hits? Can they extend innings? Can the pitching staff put hitters away early? Can the pitchers put up shutdown innings after LSU scores? Meaning LSU scores 2 or 3 runs. As a pitcher, you want to go up and throw up a 0 and get those guys in the dugout as quickly as possible. If LSU has the starter for Alabama on the ropes in the third, can they find a way to finish him off? Or will they let him get in a rhythm, wiggle out of a jam, and all of a sudden LSU hasn't done anything and it's the 7th? And they've struggled with that at times this year. These are all little things, and they're key at this time of year, and especially when you have a winnable series. I think playing with a sense of urgency, taking it to the other team, and putting the pressure on them is huge. And I think even though Alabama's at home, I mean, they're just a very average team, and I think if LSU does a couple of those keys that I have to the weekend, I think they'll have a very successful series. All right, enough beating around the bush, Chris. Here we go. What is my series prediction? Remember, bold. Sweep, baby. I am predicting the LSU sweep on the road. Let's go, Tigers. Look, I'm not here to make easy predictions, and it's easy to say, 2 out of 3. Alabama's terrible, 2 out of 3. Ole Miss at home, 2 out of 3. Vandy on the road, 2 out of 3. I mean, that's no fun. I think LSU sweeps this weekend. I really do. I think they send a message to people. And I don't want to be here to make easy predictions. I'm putting myself out there on a limb, but that's okay. I'll take the heat if I get it wrong. I just feel Bama's struggling and LSU's getting hot at the right time of the year. Guys are swinging the bat well. You've seen the emergence of Tyler McManus, Pearson, who I mentioned earlier, who's on the stay right list, Stevenson at the bottom of the order, who's playing a great left field and who's also doing some really good things with the bat as well. Look, I look for LSU to hit a lot of homers this weekend. I've thought about this number. Man, I'm going – at first I started at 9, but that's probably too much. I'm putting the over-under at 7.5 for home runs this weekend in a 3-game set. 7.5, and I feel like that's going to be light. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they hit 9. Seriously, I'm telling you, that ballpark is tiny. So look for them to hit a lot of home runs this weekend and for LSU's pitchers to continue to have success, especially that bullpen and Hilliard. Look, Bama's the middle of the pack in almost every category for a reason, and I think LSU's just going to make a statement. And they're really going to put some people in other conferences and the national media on notice while everyone sits back and watch Arkansas and Auburn fight it out. So y'all can have fun with that series. But you got Bama, you got Ole Miss at home, who's struggling, but still a little dangerous. And you got Vandy, who's struggling. And Vandy, I believe, goes to Georgia this weekend. So that's going to be an interesting series to watch as well. Now, you finish at Vandy, but Vandy's not the same team that we're used to seeing that program put out. But it's still on the road. Who knows what their situation is going to be? Are they fighting for a regional berth? That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. And I haven't broken down Vandy yet, but that's going to be an interesting one on the pod. So, my prediction, LSU sweep. Let's go, baby. So that's going to do it for this week's LSU versus Alabama series. Please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like, and comment on this video. Make sure to check out the podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other audio platforms. And as always, be sure to follow and interact with me on Twitter. The account is at 60FT6IN LSU Pod. Y'all stay safe. Thanks for tuning in. I will see y'all after the series.